Hello everyone, this is Pavel and Lyn. I'm covering for Lori today because she's traveling. She's traveling to East Coast and she travels to see her 22nd grandbaby. It's a baby girl. Her name is Mira. She was born on Sunday, 9 pounds and 21 inches long. So Lori asked me to step in and help her to answer all the questions, but we have Lyn, who is our CRV guru, and will be able to answer all your questions. So feel free to post your questions in the chat, say hello, tell us where you are connecting from. And this is a meeting for people who are really new to remote viewing and they want to learn something new and get more information about how Mary is saying. Hey, Dax. So if you have really specific questions, you want to learn something new, post your questions. We have a full hour to talk to you and address any issues, questions, concerns, and share stories about remote viewing.
Yeah, sharing stories is good because it helps. When you share a story, it helps other people too. And you know, bragging is absolutely allowed here.
So for everyone who is new, I want to just share, who doesn't know Lyn or Lori. This is Must Read, the 7 Cents by Lyn. This is the best book to start learning about remote viewing, and it used to be prerequisite for Lori's basic class. And this is Lori's Boundless. This is the first book from the series of 6 books. It's introduction to remote viewing in phase 1. So I will quickly put the link to those books if you're new to it and you want to learn about Lyn. Amazing stories in Lyn's book. I read it several times and I love this book. It's must read. Okay. Let's see, we have a lot of people signing in. Let's see, we have Carla from Chicagoland, Vanessa from Canada, Catherine.
South Africa?
Yeah. Oregon. Donna. Lena. Lisa from Lake Elson, from California, nice. Dandy, Scotland. Hey, Martin. Alejandra from Boston. Kevin from Canada. We have people from Europe too. We have Germany. Eva. Nice. New York and Minnesota. Hey, William and Sue. Richard from Australia. Wow. Rhode Island. South Africa, Malcolm. Nice. A really, really nice international crowd today. We have about 100 people connected. So I feel like there may be still more people connecting. We had over 500 people registered for the webinar.
Star on October the 12th or 19th. No, she hasn't called me yet. Linda Moulton Howe hasn't called me yet. We're in touch every now and then. We'll get in touch. Yeah.
I think Carla has a really interesting question about stray cats. How do you determine which stray cats to dive into more deeply for more info, and which ones to dismiss? So for people who are new, stray cats, it's just when we remote view, we try to describe, not identify, and when we use nouns, we call them stray cats, and they are different stray cats. Some of them are really useful, some of them are not. Linda, you want to go for it? Because this is a really good question, I feel.
Yeah, something caused every stray cat, okay, and every AOL. And AOL is analytic overlay that comes from your analysis. Red, round, rubbery. Oh, I'll bet it's a ball. It may not be. And the stray cat is subconscious transfer of recollections, anxieties, and yearnings. That's the stray. To consciously accessible thought. That's the cat. And so the stray cat comes from your own past experience, okay? And both the AOLs and the stray cats, um, something about the site caused those. And so there is good information in them. If you're a beginning student, uh, generally the best thing you can do is set them over to the side. That does not mean they're wrong, and it doesn't mean they're right. Okay. You just set them over to the side and let your subconscious know, let yourself know that's fine. But what I want is descriptors of the target. And so you get a uh, uh, image of a school bus, let's say. You set that to a side and you say stray cat or AOL, school bus. Then you come back and you tell yourself, that's fine, but how does that relate to the target? I want descriptors of oh yeah, the target's yellow. Ah, that's what your subconscious was telling you with that AOL or stray cat. And it's big. Oh, and it carries people in it. Oh, you know, okay. And so you go back and you get the descriptors of it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do that immediately. Okay. You can set aside school bus or whatever and keep working the target. And then later, if you just kind of stall, nothing's coming, you say, well, how in the world does that relate to a school bus? Oh, because it's yellow. Okay. And so you can pick those up later for delving more into. The thing is, don't take the nouns as the truth, okay? Because you get something like that, I'll guarantee you it's probably not a school bus. But that doesn't mean it's wrong because it has good information about the target.
Yeah, great answer. And both Lyn and Lori in the intermediate class, they teach special tools to get information from it. P5 tools, you can get tons of information from stray cats. And the ones too, Lori always tells students, pay attention to the ones that are coming back again and again and again, because those are actually your subconscious mind is giving you a hit. I just pay attention. This is something important I want to pass to you. So if you have straight cats that are coming back and you're just a basic student, you can ask in which way this is like a target or in which way it is not like a target and just get more information from it. And this is one of tools that both Lori and Lyn teach in the intermediate class. And the jump from the basic class to intermediate is huge. It's tons of extra tools to play with. So Lyn, actually Alan is asking for a quick update about what's going on with the remote viewing crunch. So I think we can quickly give an update and tell that you're working on fixing
Yeah,
the website.
yeah, the remote viewing ranch, we have tried and tried to find out what's going on with that. We have found that it is not a virus. Now, your virus checker will tell you it's malware, and it is malware. It's not a virus. It will not infect your machine. What it does, there's this guy, the government can track you down to your exact machine, but they won't do anything at all about hackers. That's frustrating. Anyway, this guy takes money from advertisers, and what he does, he puts a thing onto a website called clickbait, and it doesn't infect your machine at all. What it does is it makes it so that when you click a button, instead of going to where the button is supposed to go, it goes to one of his advertisers. So like on this one, last time I clicked on contact Lyn, I clicked on it and it went to a dog grooming service in New Zealand, and he's making money just by stealing the links when you click a button, and that's all it does. But it still disrupts everything because, you know, when you bring up the page and it says there's malware, oh, first thing you're going to do, best thing you're going to do is just drop the page. And so the donations have completely stopped. However, we found the problem, and the problem is in WordPress, which is what the site is written in. And there's a newer version of WordPress which has a prevention for these things. So we're rewriting the entire page in the new version, and hopefully the hackers can't get to it. Pray for us. Pray for it, please.
I want to add that this is Lyn's baby. The whole project and the whole idea. It's Lyn's project. So we forward actually all the emails that come to us to Lori. Lori forwards to Lyn this directly, but we don't want to take credit. This is Lyn's idea. This is his project. This is amazing. We are really excited, and hopefully everything will be fixed soon. So the project will continue to grow. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, if you have any questions, send them to me. Lori is not involved in the building of the ranch and development of it. Now she will be completely available to have classes there and be a teacher there. But and the building and construction and all that, that's my headache.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat, and there's really interesting question about ideograms and A and B from Arnaldo, and I think this is really confusing for a lot of new students. There is a kind of dichotomy between the perception of the feeling component and the visual recognition of the ideograms. Sometimes visually, I have a certain clarity of the gestalt, but then when I come into psychometric contact, I see it splits in half, making the process of A and B more complex. How to solve it? Do you see that question, Lyn?
I'm reading it now. Yeah, there's perception of the feeling component and the visual recognition. Oh yeah, the okay, the visual recognition of the ideogram should not. It's not a pictogram. It's not a picture. Okay, and so your like your ideogram for land may be a straight flat line. It may be a mountain. It may be something else. Everybody's subconscious comes up with these different ideograms. The feeling component is also not about the target. It's about the gestalt. And so the ideogram, like for me, a straight line that feels rough on the paper, I have learned over time that that's land. If I do a straight line and it feels like the paper is really slick, I have learned over time that that means the target has something that's frozen. That doesn't make any sense. Don't require your subconscious to make sense, to make logical sense, because it's not going to do it. It's just over time. And so what you do is you learn the combination. And so straight line slick, something frozen. Straight line rough, there's land. And you get the dichotomy it's not a dichotomy, it's your subconscious specifying. Okay. So let's say you've developed a curl for biological, and you notice that every time you make that curl and there's a biological, it has a certain feeling to it. Next time you make a curl and it has a different feeling to it, it's something different. Your subconscious is telling you something different. And the analogy I like to use is there's a difference between yes and yes. Okay. There's a different feeling. It's the same word, so it'd be the same ideogram, and yet it means something totally different. Okay. And that's the way it is. Each ideogram has a shape and a feel component. And when either one of those changes, it means something different. It's a new word in your ideogram language. And excuse me, I get all kinds of problems for calling it a language, but the ideogram has linguistic capabilities. It does. And so, you know, um, you draw a cross angle down and it feels hard. Okay, that may be your man-made or manufactured. You do another one and it feels squishy. It may not be anything related at all to something manufactured. It may be a completely different word. And so there's not a dichotomy there. There's just a new word. I hope that wasn't too confusing.
No, this is a great answer. I just want to add something to it. If anyone has some issues with recognizing their ideograms, you can just do a bunch of phase one targets, just using any picture and doing like quick sessions, and then doing post-session analysis, finding out what those new ideograms mean. Because sometimes you may get, uh, as you progress as a viewer, your ideograms will start morphing, and your subconscious mind will be giving some new ideograms. You'll be having the same, you'll be getting the same shape but different feeling component, and it may mean something completely different. We have a lot of students complaining about it, and we tell them actually this is a great sign of progress. So we ask them, just do 10 or 20 sessions, phase one sessions. And, if you have that new ideogram popping out, just find those sessions with those ideograms and look for common components. And maybe if you work with a monitor, you can even ask monitor once there's a suspicion what that new ideogram means, that monitor can give you blindly some targets with that element. So, yeah. And ideograms are the most confusing in remote viewing. So
it can be.
it can
especially
be, yeah.
They're first forming.
Yeah.
If you get let's say you get the circle and it feels squishy, okay, don't try to figure out what it is. Just make a note off to the side. That's not my regular feeling for this. Go on with your session. Then, like Pablo says, at the end of your session, when you see the feedback, say to yourself, I have a new ideogram. Look at the feedback and say, I wonder what it is. And you'll find something, you'll think, oh, I'll bet it's that. And then over hundreds of sessions or how many sessions you do, next time it happens, see what that site has in common with the one you had before, and you'll learn what that word means. Yeah. In other words, practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, everything comes to practice. Yeah, and I just want to let everyone know even if you miss your target or you feel you cannot view anything, keep practicing, because during that practice, your subconscious mind and conscious mind work together to solve issues, to view better and better. Just create that relationship over time. So viewing that practice is actually the key. Even if you don't hit the target, if you miss your targets completely, that's fine. So Vanessa is asking a good question, because that's practical use of remote viewing. She's asking, can you use remote viewing to find lost keys? And I think you can. You don't have to be even a student of controlled remote viewing to be able to find some tricks to find them. But yeah, Lori has a good example how to do it. Lyn, you want to come up with an idea how people can just do a quick daily session to find keys? Okay.
Yeah, well, you can douse, of course, but if you're going to use remote viewing to find your keys, don't try to find the keys. You know the keys. Okay, focus on the location. So you say, uh, you're looking for your keys. Your cue to yourself is there is a location. Describe the location, and then don't even bother with the keys. Okay, there's a location. Oh, this is in a dark place. Okay, it's under some cloth. Oh, it's in something that slides in and out. It may be a drawer. Oh, really? Oh, and through the descriptors of the location, you'll find your keys.
Yeah, that's great.
Uh,
Lori,
Kyle had a brag too. I hope Kyle will put in something into the chat room about the brag he's got. He had a good session. Yeah, I'd like to see what he has to say about it.
so you mentioned dowsing. This is what Lori actually often tells to students who are completely new. If you think you lost your keys in the house, you can grab a piece of paper, do outline of your house, draw, do 4 quadrants of your house, and just ask quick question. You can use pendulum. If my keys are in this quadrant of the house, and get yes and no, and just look for the right answer. And once you have one quadrant, you can break that quadrant into smaller pieces and look for a closer location. If you are not into pendulum, you can ask yourself, create an analogy that quadrant that the keys are located will feel warm or will feel cold, and just look for it quickly. The idea is you want to touch it and get quick answers. You don't want to wait and think and if it's cold or not. And sometimes maybe really strong, sometimes really that feeling may be really difficult to grasp, but your subconscious mind will help you. If you're running late, I think your subconscious mind will cooperate because it will feel it's important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look into the chat.
Let me go ahead and provide some stuff that we teach in the advanced course, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Tons of amazing tools in advanced class.
Okay. One of the methods that we teach, one of the tools that we teach in the advanced course is the CRV dowsing. And one of them is the hotspot. And you firmly fix in your mind on this sheet of paper the location of my keys is going to give off some heat. Okay. And you feel around for a hotspot. Many dowsers will do this. And one of the tricks we found is that your palm is more sensitive to heat than your fingers. Okay. And if you really want to get sensitive about it, where do you test the baby's milk? Right here. And so you'll see many CRVers take a sheet of paper and they'll go around that sheet of paper like this, looking for the hot spot instead of their fingers. Also, I don't have a pendulum here, but I'll use this. Okay. Oh, a thing. Okay. In CRV, one of the things we found is that if you use a chain here, chain links are fixed like this. And so it's going to go this way or this way rather than off at an angle. So if you have a chain, like Pablo says, take the paper, cut it into fourths, and say, over here on this fourth, okay, is the target in this quadrant, yes or no? And it starts swinging yes or no, and you do the other two quadrants and all that. Then you take that quadrant that is it, that you find it in, cut that into fourths, and pretty soon you work your way down to it. The other way is that you can start at one corner of the page and say swing in the direction of the keys. When it starts swinging, draw a line across the paper, go to the other corner. Now, swing in the direction of the keys, draw another line. Then we found if you go to the middle of one side and say swing in the direction, it's going to swing and it will form a triangle rather than perfectly crossing. And what you'll find is that that triangle is the sum of all of your errors. Your keys will probably be inside that triangle on your page. Okay. And on the dowsing, we have also found that I'm probably going to offend some people here. I have seen people douse with a pendulum, and man, it looks like they're roping cattle. You know, they get up here and they go wong 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 wong, and you ask them, and they say, "No, the pendulum is moving my hand." I'm sorry, but it's not. The hand is moving the pendulum, and so what we have found is if you put your arm down, you have the pendulum just very short. You hold the pendulum like this, and here's the paper right here, and you try as best as you can to not let that pendulum move. Your conscious mind tries to keep it still. That frees your conscious mind up, and it will start moving in the direction you want. But you consciously try to keep the pendulum still, and then you watch the way it starts to swing. And that's your subconscious mind telling you the direction. Oh, that's advanced course. Okay.
That's advanced course, yeah. And what Lyn was saying, this is the controlled remote viewing of doing pendulum. But we noticed with Lori that some students are using the other method. They call it radiesthesia. Whatever it works, you go with the data. If your method works and you can back it up with data, you can stick with your method. Whatever have better results. Yeah.
Right. If it works, don't fix it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are many ways to do the dowsing. You can take a ruler and convince yourself first that wherever the keys are, they will make a bump on the page. You slowly lightly drag that ruler down the page. When you feel a bump, you draw a line across. You drag it across the page. When you feel it bump, you draw a line, and there's going to be your keys. Okay. So there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to do dowsing, not just pendulum. Yeah.
So we encourage everyone to finish basic class and go for intermediate and advanced, because the amount of new tools and ways that we can use remote viewing are really, it really makes a difference. It allows you to get a lot of details, measure things, find things, douse them up. It's really incredible. So then people are asking some time questions. Martin, I love those questions. Those are crazy interesting. So Martin, and there's another person asking about it, but Martin asking, as the future is not fixed, how the world is the next 20 years change all the since you last made your predictions. And there's another person, how effective are time loops from your experience, and are they effective? Any tips for success? Thanks for all you do. And both Lyn and Lori have a associate remote viewing class. All the answers are there, but also the book, Lyn's book, great stories about time loops and about self-influencing yourself to make better decisions. And then you have to tell that story, because this is one, ninja and self-influencing myself to make better decisions. Those are my two favorite stories from your book.
The thing about time loops is that the time loop itself, you have to insert yourself into the time loop. Okay, so ARV, associative remote viewing, is 100% built on time loops. So I want to know which team is going to win the game tonight. Okay. I don't worry about the game. I set up a thing saying, I know from my database that of my viewing that I'm really good at getting taste. I'm 90% accurate when it comes to taste, 100%. Okay. And so I say, okay, if the Cowboys win, I'm going to have sugar. If the Dolphins win, I'm going to have, I don't know, salt. Okay. Just picking stuff. Okay. And I'm going to give that taste according to who wins at 10 o'clock tonight. Now, I don't worry about the game at all. I say, okay, move to 10 o'clock tonight and tell me what I taste. When you do that, the impression of the taste goes back through time to the time of your viewing and forms a time loop. And when you do that, you say, well, if what I taste is salt, then I know who's going to win the game. It's that simple. And you don't even bother with the game. Okay. You just form a time loop, but you insert yourself into it. You make it personal. And I have sat at roulette wheel, and I don't gamble, so I didn't bet. But I sat at a roulette wheel, and there was a part of the roulette wheel the part that was bumpy because it had some kind of emblem on it. And I said, if it's red, I'll feel the bumpy part. If it's black, I'll feel the smooth part. I called it correct 22 times in a row. But I didn't care about the color. All I cared about was after the ball lands, which place am I going to feel with my finger? Okay. And I called it correct 22 times in a row.
Yeah, I just want to add that the most important part is just to close that loop. So you have to give yourself the correct feedback. So that's the trick to remember at the end. So you actually don't focus too much on the result of the game, but on the feedback you give it to yourself. So then, if you can just mention in general, because I know we can talk hours about it, how you use that time loops to self-influence yourself to make better decisions. Like you did it for a year, like You recorded your decisions, then you started using the technique to see how you improved over time. And I talked to a lot of students to use it, but they feel like this is too much work to do. But I feel like it doesn't matter how much work it takes, as long as it helps you with making good decisions. I think it's brilliant idea.
It's pretty much the same principle. If I say, excuse me, I'm going to go close the door. I'll be right back.
So we have a dog that wants to add something to it too. So this is amazing technique, and we work also with some students to implement those techniques in their lives. It doesn't require a lot of work. You just need a journal and piece of paper and start recording your decisions. And we teach that technique in associate remote viewing. Both Lyn and Lori have the class. And Lyn has a pre-recorded class, and Lori teaches live. And those principles are taught in the class. And as long as you start doing some work now, there's no prerequisite for the associate remote viewing class, and you can learn how to make better decisions. I personally feel like this is one of the best tools to use practically on a daily basis. Kaylin, you can share some stories from your experiment, because this is really great tool. Oh, Lyn, we lost your audio. We cannot hear you. Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Good. Okay.
Oh, we lost you again. Hmm. Oh, I think now I think it should work now. We can hear you. Can you say something?
Hear
Yeah.
me now? Oh, good. Okay. The decision-making thing, if you want to know something about the future, okay? For instance, when we were looking for a new home, we went up into the mountains up here, and we found the home we wanted. And so I started to sign for the home, and I backed off because I have learned to listen to a time loop. I've learned to insert myself into the time loop. I backed off. We kept looking for a home. We found one out here in the desert, which was infinitely better. And if I had signed for that other house, we would not be living in this one. And after we got here and got into this home, I sat down and did a session targeting that moment when I was about to sign for the other house, and kept putting in don't. I put in sour, don't, and things like that. And I have learned when I make a decision to mentally just say, okay, am I going to sit down later and do a session about this? Oh, what do I feel? Oh, I feel don't. Okay. And so I didn't. And like Pablo says, if you don't sit down and do that session later, then there's no feedback. You have broken the time loop. In the same method, let's say you do the lottery, you set up different tastes or smells or whatever for the 10 different numbers, 10 different digits. And you say, okay, if there's a zero on the ball, I will give you some salt to taste. All right. And then at 10 o'clock tonight, you say, oh, uh, the feedback was salt. I didn't give you any salt to taste. And so there is no feedback. Okay. And so one of the things about a time loop is you not only have to insert yourself, but you have to make it a real thing.
Yeah. You have to send to yourself that message from the future
That's right.
to give you the answer.
And you have to learn how to listen to your own self from the future. Yeah. You make it a time loop. Yeah.
Yeah. And with practice, I feel like anyone can do it. With a little bit practice and yeah, you anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. So we have some questions, more questions about ideograms, and I feel like this is a cool question. Actually, Mary posted a link to some ideas, but Jennifer is asking, can you give an example of exactly what an ideogram would be? Like what we can use for ideograms? I know then you have tons of additional ideograms you use in your sessions. I usually add just one or two whenever it's required for the project, but I'm stick to the basic ones. Is there any favorite ones then you want to share, like you use and are really useful? And I love that story from your book about looking for drugs in boats. This is really cool story too.
No, once you learn ideograms, I get a lot of flack for this from people who are not linguists. They may speak a foreign language, but they're not linguists. They haven't studied language. Okay. The ideogram has a linguistic quality, but its only part of speech is the gestalt. Okay. And so it can't be termed a full language. And yet, you can develop words in it, such as manufactured, water, land, space, biological, and things like this. And so you can develop a vocabulary in your pile of gestalts. And once you do, it's asking what's your favorite ideogram is sort of like asking what's your favorite word in the language. They're all useful, and you have to be ready to use them all. Yeah.
Yeah. So Laurie has this really nice handout. She used to use phase one for psychic readings, and she came up with a really nice presentation for International Remote Viewing Association, and that presentation is on our website. I think Mary already posted, but you can add anything: danger, male, female. You can ask for different qualities when you read people using remote viewing. It's like doing a session in front of somebody. You can actually add a lot of ideograms that will help you to find the problem. So actually, when you view, you go to the core of the problem, and we have a couple of students who are healers, and they use ideograms to learn about their targets, whatever they are, and to get to the core of the problem much quicker. And I remember when I asked one of our students about list of his ideograms, I was like impressed. Anything about emotions, physical issues, emotional issues, he had ideograms listed for that, and he was using this on a daily basis to do sessions about people and then provide them some feedback. So then if you can add a little bit to it, what actually you can use as an ideogram to your vocabulary. Because I have students often asking, and Lori has too, just, what kind of ideograms you can add? The answer is you can add anything. But when they ask for examples, it's just like, okay, so give me some examples. So I can just wrap my mind around it.
Right. You can add anything, but you have to remember that the ideogram has only one part of speech, the gestalt. Okay. And so, just the basic example, water. Water, Ingo named that wrong. Okay. He should have named it liquid, because when you get the water ideogram and you start describing, you find out that it's a gallon of gasoline. Okay, not water at all, but it is liquid, and and I have even developed, you know, symbolic ideograms. One that I didn't develop, my subconscious developed this one, is that of a grain silo. You know, these big buildings out in the farmland where they store their grain. And anytime I get that ideogram, it is the ideogram for a grain silo. However, it's the gestalt of a grain silo. What does a grain silo do? It's a big empty thing that holds other stuff. Okay. So I get a grain silo. It can be a jar of beans. You know, it can be a cup of flour or something like that. You know, but but you've got to realize that it's the aspect of it. It's the gestalt. And so anytime you have land can be just dirt land. It can also be the stage where a play is being, where actors on the stage. It can be their land that they're on. It's the gestalt of a place that you can stand on. Okay. And so you say there's land here. And if this is your target, you know, it's a theater where a play is being played, you start describing the land and you say, oh, it's wooden, it's shiny, it's you know, it's man-made, and so on. And so it's in the descriptors. But in stage one, the ideograms are the basic aspect of something, not the something itself. They're not nouns. So was that confusing for everybody?
Yeah, it is, I think. But then I think it was you. I listened to you on one of your interviews. Somebody asked about ideogram for male and female, and I really like your answer. And I think that that will clarify. It's not that the ideogram is female or male. It's just feminine or masculine. So it's like isness of the target. It could be a male with a
Yeah.
female feeling or female with a very male feel to it when you view. So when you think about gestalts, don't get really focused on them, but think about the isness of each gestalt. That will give you an answer, and you'll not be locked with what this gestalt represents.
Yeah, you can even like get a biological. Okay, cue with the biological and do an ideogram. And once you've developed these ideograms, you can say, oh, human. The biological is human. Okay. Cue with a human ideogram and get male or female, young or old. And those micro feelings will tell you this information. Yeah. You can do a viewing session doing ideograms.
Yeah. Once
you develop them.
And once you practice, so use you can record. You can ask somebody to, or even record it yourself, like a list of ideograms on your phone, and listen to them in practice. Or you can use Lori's tool from our website. It's one or the other. I used to then use your app. It was, I think it was for Windows NT.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
It was like at some point my computer was so old, I just recorded it on my phone and listened to it. So it was funny. And then I switched to Lori's tool, but I still have it on my phone. It's funny. So we have one question about the time that we missed from Martin. And I think we cannot answer this directly. Let me read it. As the future is not fixed, has the world in the next 20 years changed at all since you last made your predictions. So I will just quickly answer to this, saying that when you do a session, actually, you make a prediction at the time of doing a session, and if you take an action to change the future, you change it. So your predictions from today may be different than your predictions from tomorrow. There are many probabilities of the future. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
difficult to answer that question straight. But Lynn, I think you've been viewing for a long time, and one of those
yeah,
predictions you made 20 years ago, I think the COVID came into fruition.
yeah. The not very amazing Randy always said, you're either right or wrong, and that if you're wrong, then it absolutely proves there's no psychics. And yet we're more accurate at predicting the future than the weatherman is. Nobody ever attacks the weatherman, and yet the weatherman will say, "This week it's going to be such and such," and the next day he says, "Well, there's been a change in the weather, and this week it's going to be," and then the next day he says, "An update on this," and and if you're going to predict the future, yeah, you do updates. One thing is that if you predict the future and give people the information and they act on it, that changes the future. Okay. Uh, the analogy of the criminal at Joe's Bar and Grill, most people have heard this before. Uh, the police want to know where the criminal is going to be at 9 o'clock tonight. You do your session and you say he's going to be at Joe's Bar and Grill eating dinner. So at 8:30 they go and hide in the bushes. At 8:45 he walks up to Joe's Bar and Grill. They jump out and arrest him, and at 9 o'clock he's in jail. Then you were wrong. He's not going to be sitting there eating dinner. Okay. And yet, if you had said he's going to be in jail, they would not have gone out to Joe's Bar and Grill and he would be sitting there eating dinner. Okay. And so you have to do updates. Yeah. And acting on the future will change the future. Acting on predictions will change the future.
Yeah, and you may view different futures depending which are standing out the most for you. So if you view the future, keep in mind that you need to write a very specific question to view that part of the future that you are really interested in.
My prediction for the next 18 years uh, is coming true, and I really, really, really wish I was wrong. Uh, anyway, uh, could you talk about the second and third ambiance exercise? No.
Okay, let's see. There was a question about ideograms that they changed, and I missed that. So Mary, if you could put the link for displacement from Lori's blog, that will help that person. But there was another question about morphing of ideograms. Can you, Lynn, just talk a little bit about it? We're almost done with time, but to encourage people to keep working on ideograms even if they change, because that's your subconscious mind making amazing progress, connecting with your president, giving ideograms that gestalts that subconscious prefers to use.
Yeah, the pattern has always been that you decide what the ideograms are going to be consciously, and you learn those, and then after a while, your subconscious says, "Oh, I see what we're doing now," and it starts changing them. Once you allow it to change them, they will become permanent. Yeah. Let me be fair about the uh, uh, step 2 and 3 of the ambiance exercise. The reason I don't give those is because most people do not understand step one. And step one of the ambiance exercise is to notice the change in ambiance when you move from one place to another. The ambiance doesn't matter. It's making yourself sensitive to change. That's the entire purpose of stage one. And so people will read stage one, step one, and they'll say, oh, I already do that. What's stage two? What's step two? No, the entire purpose of step one is to make yourself extremely sensitive to smaller and smaller changes. Once you get to stage one and you get to where you're extremely sensitive to those small changes, then you're ready for step two. But if I tell you step two before you've done that, step two doesn't work. And so that's why I don't. If somebody comes to me and they say, yeah, I can tell the tiniest amount of change in everything, yeah, they're ready for step two. Yeah. And so that's why, especially just, on a public thing like this, I don't go into step two because they'll miss step one. And when they do, none of the other steps work.
Yeah, this is a great answer. And everyone who wants to get an idea how much you can get from the ambience exercise number one, please read that part of the book about the ninja. This is amazing.
Yeah.
How much that one student was able to use that exercise number one for his own advantage.
Yeah.
That was a really good story.
Evidently, people are having trouble logging in or logging back in or whatever.
Yeah, I noticed that. I asked Mary to post. We can send them. Mary, if you are still around, can you send them to the Facebook Live? Because that I think that Facebook Live is working well. And I test everything on my PC, so I got reconnected. It took me a minute to get reconnected, but
Good.
it's kind of difficult. And by the way, there will be recording of it. So we'll be posting the recording will be on the Facebook or remote viewing with Lori Williams, and also we'll put it on the YouTube channel. So if you missed anything, my screen shows everything is recorded. So we will post that link and send to everyone within a day. Okay, but it should be on the Facebook right away. So Lyn, before we disconnect, I really want to share something as Loris and your student saying that how important it is to be part of the community. My family is not into remote viewing, except my twin brother. He took the basic class and he's amazed, but he didn't want to study further. But when I started my journey, I felt really alone, and I had nobody to talk to except Lori. And watching Lyn from time to time online when he was providing live webinars. But now I'm not. I may be wrong, but I feel like other teachers are not providing so much follow up like Lyn does, and we do with Lori. Lyn meets with students every 2 weeks to follow up with them and answer their questions, go over their sessions, and Lori and me, we have those monthly meetings with students also to help them to progress. And actually, we use those meetings for them to connect with students in their time zone or in their area, so they don't feel alone. So Lyn, what do you think? Like working with others and having somebody to talk to about remote viewing, how much does it help in the journey?
Yeah, first of all, I'm amazed at how many teachers will teach you the basics, tell you your remote viewer, charge you money, and out the door, and they're finished with you. Um, and they don't offer intermediate, advanced, and all of the higher level courses. Um, Also, the community. I have people in South Africa, in New Zealand and Singapore, all around the world, and in Russia and all that, who attend my weekly webinars for my students. And this last time, I said, look, I can actually do 2 webinars a day, and that way people on that side of the earth won't be having to get up at 3 in the morning to be at the webinar, and people on this side of the earth won't have to stay up at 11 o'clock at night to do it and all that. And the general consensus was, no, we're a community. Being in this community and working with all these people from around the world is worth getting up at these weird hours. And once you form a community of remote viewers working together, for one thing, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And if there's a task that you're weak at, or even a question within a task that you're weak at, you've got a community. You call up somebody and say, hey, let me give this part to you and we'll work it together. And we have a community. When we have our webinars each week for my students, we have teachers from all around the world just dropping in, giving their time. I don't pay them, they don't charge, and they just love being a part of the community that we have formed, and working together. And the community of remote viewers is the fantastic thing. And Lori has formed a pretty good community of remote viewers herself, and this is a good thing.
Yeah, I want to add one thing. If you work with other viewers and you have a question that is important to you, you can always task your fellow viewer, your friend, with that question to get some answers. This is amazing value to be part of community like this. I see amazing viewers in both Lyn and Lori's community. And whenever I have specific questions, I'm really not sure if I did the right session, or my gut feeling telling me what I'm supposed to do. I task them with answers. I task them with their strengths, because if you know your friends, you know their strengths and weaknesses, and you can ask the question, phrase the question to use their strengths. And this is amazing value. So I highly recommend any new students just connect with others.
Yeah, and if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer, don't make up a logical answer, okay? Say, let's both get in touch with Lyn or Lori, or someone who will know the answer, and that's what we're here for. Okay, we're here for you.
Okay, I think Lyn, if you want to add anything, I think we're almost done with time. If you want anything to add at the end, feel free to do it. I just want to mention that our next meeting is in December, but let me take a look at the date. I wrote this down. So our next meeting, December 13th, Tuesday, 12 Mountain Time. We'll meet again. Lori will be back. I hope she will have a lot of time with spends really good quality time with her son and 22nd grandbaby, and we'll see you soon. Lyn, do you want to add anything?
That's forming the community elders.
Yeah. So keep practicing, keep viewing, and have a lot of fun with viewing. We'll see you next month. And you have links to Lyn's classes. If you want to pick on his website, you have links in the chat for our classes. No pressure. Check it out whenever you are ready to give it a try. Give it a try. No pressure. Those classes are waiting for all of you. Okay. Thank you very much.
And we are working on the Remote View Ranch GoFundMe site. It's just been a nightmare so far, but we're getting it fixed this week.
That's great. Thank you, Lyn. Thanks everyone, and see you pretty soon. Okay, next month we'll be back. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Pavel.
Thank you. That was great meeting. Thanks a lot.